A Connecticut Department of Public Health employee sent this email to the Northeast Pharmacy Services Corporation, the organizing and advocacy arm of the independent pharmacies in Connecticut. The email said, quote, "We are no longer enrolling providers in VAMS and have begun transitioning providers off of VAMS."
I believe that the stores have relied on the state system. And I understand that the state was using the federal system, VAMS, and had heard that there would be changes to that.
But in response, the Department of Public Health said, quote, "We would welcome and encourage their participation in VAMS," and the suggestion otherwise was a misunderstanding. That misunderstanding is what left doses of COVID vaccine sitting in a refrigerator at the Beacon Pharmacy in Southington.
They actually have the vaccine in their refrigerators, but they can't give it out because they don't have the tracing ability through VAMS yet.
The state goes on to say, quote, "Pharmacies enrolled through the federal government channel are required by the federal government to have their own scheduling platforms. Federally affiliated pharmacies get their vaccine allotment through a separate allocation from the state. Some independent pharmacies like Nutmeg Pharmacy told Fox 61 they have never utilized VAMS.
So right now it's all through our own website and through our own stores. We are not through VAMS, which honestly is almost a blessing in itself. It helps a lot of people who are having trouble using that one interface.
In addition to VAMS, any vaccine provider who is having trouble making residents aware of their supply can also register their clinic with the United Way 211 system or sign up with the Connecticut Vaccine Finder website. As for those vaccines that were sitting in the refrigerator in Southington, well, luckily, they did not get thrown away.
So far, no. But that is, of course, the danger. Most of these are J&J vaccines, which can keep longer than the Pfizer and the Moderna, obviously. But you don't want to have, vaccine just sitting around.
With the Fox 61 vaccine team, I'm Matt Karen.